Hey there, this is Deborah Perlman. Thank you so much for joining us on Entrepreneurial Oomph. This particular guest today, I'm just going to jump right in. His name is Mark Heinsman. And when I asked Mark very specifically, how would you like to be introduced? He didn't give me a really clear answer. So I have no idea how to introduce him. I just know that he and I met many years ago. I think it's almost 20. And I do know that back in the day, he created my websites for me because I had no idea what I was doing. He helped me to get some really good exposure as far as my business, my training, my speaking. And for that, I am eternally grateful. It was a great jumping off point, and it was very helpful when I really needed it. And he bartered with me for the very first website, which was phenomenal because I think he knew that I was really broke and couldn't put any money into the business when I first started. So, gosh, the first business was DP Sales Pro. And then we went to Hudson Valley Sales Training. We did the Sharp training. So this is going back, Mark, this is going back like 20 years.
About. It's been a long time.
Oh my God, I was much younger back then. So, okay, so now that they've seen you, now you have to introduce yourself. How do you want to be known in the world?
That's a good question because I never think about it. I think about what my clients want or what's being asked of me. And fortunately, the phone rings and Mark, I heard you can do this. Can you do this for me? And I have phenomenal examples about that. And we get so engrossed in the client that we just never think about our own promotions, which obviously we have to start doing now because we've been in the shadows for 17 years, supporting some of the biggest names and notable projects, especially in the Hudson Valley. So I guess we can call me the owner of Imaginative, which is a digital agency. Um, who's very in tune and empathetic with a large variety of industries and professionals throughout the region.
Okay, so that's a start. We're gonna get deeper though. That's you're not getting away with just because that's a pretty broad explanation of what you do and who you are.
Okay,
Okay, you ready?
I'm
It's
ready.
almost going to be like a coaching conversation. This is going to be awesome. I love these. Are you good with this?
Let's take it as it comes.
Okay, good. All right, we're rolling down. So, okay, so let's go to 17 years ago. You pivoted, and you because you didn't have clients, a lot of clients. So, how did you even start to generate any business?
Well, we had a family land surveying business. And before professionals were using the internet to market extensively, my then partner and I created a website for that company along with an interactive database as a means to be a resource to developers, realtors, title insurance companies, because we had such a breadth of records and refis were hot at the time. So we had this cute little marketing pitch, which was, we may have the record already to make your closing quick, so come to the database. And then the responses of the database would say, we have it, we may have it, I'm sure we have it, just give us a call. And it was a phenomenal way to start marketing such a simple profession. And businesses around us caught wind that we were doing it. And we thought we'd make some pocket change on the side. And then all of a sudden, we're working with one of the greatest publicists in the country, supporting his projects all through New York City.
Well, okay, so that's really interesting. So, can you give me a more specific, I don't need all the details, but just a what specific data? So you mentioned the title, and so I almost went to the real estate industry, but you're talking about publishing now. So what data is it that was mined, and are you still doing that?
No, I'm sorry, I just answered your question backwards.
That's
The
okay.
data was there was land records, so survey maps that were necessary to fill the file of a closing for a refinance.
Okay.
All right. We don't have the business anymore. I can tell you where the records are, and that's a ironic part of the story for later in the timeline.
Okay. All right. So now you've got this reputation, you're starting to grow the business. So what was the biggest challenge during that time when you went from, oh, this is going to be pocket change, you said, to it actually being a full blown, let's step into this as a business now?
Couple challenges. The first one was being a part of a family business and realizing that the opportunity that I created for myself had more potential than the work and reward that was coming from the family business. So the dynamics of that shift, that was very tough. And then the second part was scaling. And we got too much work too soon before we had an opportunity to figure out how to grow the business. And common story, you're working 100 hours a week and in the technical weeds of things, and then trying to figure out how do we hire people? How do we market this, et cetera, et cetera.
That's really interesting. So you know, and I'm so to expand on what you did very specifically in that industry, it's a common challenge when
Right.
right? So you had what they sometimes will call a good problem. However, sometimes it's not a good problem because if you're not ready for it and too much is coming at you and you're not balancing it, you my understanding and from my experience is it's really hard to do a good job for everybody and then you end up losing and you run the risk of having a negative reputation, which is not good either.
Right. And I avoided the negative reputation by not sleeping, neglecting, personal interests, whatever it took to make sure that we delivered.
Okay.
Right.
So, okay. So when things were really at a point where you know that you needed to scale and you needed to not work 100 hours a week because it's not sustainable and there's burnout, right?
Right.
How did you shift from that to more of a normal, balanced work life?
Well, that's the funny thing.
Oh, no, don't tell me you still haven't. That is not
The
more.
way I the
Come
way
on.
I shi- the way I shifted was to also take on a corporate job, and then eventually add on being on a committee, and then becoming a board member of my alumni association. So it seemed like the way to balance things out was to take on more obligations, just to see, you know, how much we're capable of doing.
So overachieving would be the moment for that.
Correct.
Okay. So now where are you? Are you still in that space where you feel overwhelmed and burnt out? Because you know what, some people do thrive on that, on being
Right.
productive and performing on all cylinders. And I will say that in for men, there's a hormone and it's called adrenaline, and
Mhm.
men thrive and are more successful when they're in that gear. Adrenaline really doesn't work well for women so much, but for
Right.
you, I'm hearing that the adrenaline might actually be a benefit.
Adrenaline is good.
Why are you making that face? Like maybe it's not. I don't know.
Um, I had to go through a number of steps I haven't shed any of my time expended, but I did have to pivot. And I took a series of big changes. Um, Essentially got rid of the house, dumped the security positions because I realized I was keeping a foot in another pond just because what if the business doesn't cash flow, what if the business doesn't do certain things? So I put myself in a position where I got rid of the corporate job. I got rid of the house. Unfortunately, there was a divorce that played a part in that too. Um, and certainly not to run the business, but it just all those things lined up. Um, and then once I had that free space, I then had to learn to stop being in the weeds, which has been this past year's project. Um, Required engagement with a lot of mentors. You just need that reinforcement on a regular basis that you have the business and your job is to get sales. Your job is to lead. It's not to build the product, be the service. So that's been the 2024 growth experience, and I'm much happier. I'm still working a lot, but at least I'm in the right place. My stress levels are lower, and I'm having fun. And I'm helping people get opportunities that I was essentially taken away from them because I was so frantic with trying to solve problems 24/7.
Good for you. So
Yeah.
you release some of the tasks that were bogging you down. You
Right.
pivoted, you shifted. I mean, you went through a lot of
Right.
changes, right? And so the universe has a way, of just kind of showing up with, okay, so you've got a lesson to learn and you're going to learn it the hard way, right?
I've done it a couple times too. The universe and I have had a few rings and a few rounds in the ring.
Well, okay, so you look like you're doing much better. You sound like you're doing much better, and the universe is
Yes.
probably like, all right, I think he's on the right track now. So, what's the next step for you guys? And like, where do you go from here? What's next?
So for me, it's a huge pivot in the services we offer. Historically, we were a custom website design, development, and support entity. And the challenge there was the partner back in the day was who the business was built around on a technical side, and I was administration. He's gone. And then all of a sudden, I have this tech company for creating a product that I don't actually create. And I'm running teams overseas, which has been a fantastic way to run the business. But there was always just that issue of I don't build the product. And all the things that I'm excelling at, I need to make time for. So we're pivoting the business away from that development, software development focus and more into assembling systems to get results for our clients first, followed by a customization. And it's a fantastic trend shift because lead generation is number one, or as we're calling it now, revenue operations. And the systems that are available to do this are now accessible. So we can test markets quick. We can A/B test concepts quickly. We can gather data and analyze it quickly and really help the client make good investment decisions in this media versus let's build a big website, throw mud at the wall, run out of budget for the actual marketing piece and hope for the best, which was pretty common 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
that was
but
cool.
what's great from my sense of security is these are all things that I can personally do and then train. So the ability to scale and the ability to build a workforce is based on everything that I understand versus trusting specialized talent to tell me it's going in a certain direction. And thank God for the whole entire history of this company, I had very trustworthy people that built a very good product. But my personality is such that I need to be able to do it. I need to be able to scale it, control it, and then be truly accountable to it through and through.
Okay, so just out of curiosity,
Mhm.
how much control do you really have over all of that?
We don't have control, obviously, over the markets, but we have control over the systems that we put together to work within the markets.
Okay.
Right. So the product we deliver, we have control over. The response to the product is always subjective to trends and human beings.
Okay. So, all right. So, walk me through one of your best clients. You don't have to give the name, but
Mhm.
just walk us through a story of how you helped a very specific client with, a solution that they were willing to pay an exorbitant amount of money for.
Okay. So we still have a global client and little different than a lead generation product, but in the same vein where every year they wanted a theme for sales campaign measurement. And one year it was build us a stock exchange. One year it was build us a car racetrack. The latest one we did was build us a mock cryptocurrency exchange, where each component or each salesperson was assigned to something, a car or a profile or a portfolio. And we would have to make the products that were to be sold for the season and integrate with whatever that presentation was. So in the case of the crypto exchange, every token was assigned to a brand, and the value of that token was based on how many cases they could sell and what the importance of that sale was for the company portfolio. And then depending on the leaderboard, the ranking of the salespeople would get some sort of bonus at the end of the season. It might be a vacation, it might be a cash bonus. Um, so that was a phenomenal project because it was fun for the salespeople. We had to take into account how are we going to make this interface and the functionality of this engaging and exciting for the salespeople for 4 months. How are we going to report data back to administration to make sure that they're getting their money's worth, they're getting the information needed in order to, just register sales in like any other company. So we did that 4 times. And that was just 4 projects with that company. Otherwise, we're supporting their different brands globally. So various campaigns for that. We built them before anyone was doing this, but a data collection app. So it was wine and liquor. So their models would go out all through the boroughs and collect data, take pictures for social media, unfortunately get tracked to make sure they showed up for their job. There has to be a balance between fun and making sure the owners are happy.
Yeah.
So we set a lot of precedents with that particular client as far as what was possible uh, to do with the technology quickly and in a customized way. Um, and we still have that account. We don't do as much, but we still have it, and we have 3 projects rolling out for them currently.
That is unbelievably interesting. It's so funny because you don't think on a regular basis about those types of things that happen on a big scale. So I'm just curious, did the organization track where the baseline was before, during, and when the project completed with I really like the cryptocurrency and tracking
Mhm.
all that. Did they see a significance increase in their sales revenue?
All the time. Because it was fun, and then there was a bonus that the salespeople could see every single day, and they were required to look at it every day because they had to log their own sales.
I
So they
love
would log it, and then at 5 o'clock, everything would update, and you would see all the shifts and the values of the tokens and how the candle graph would change, and all these interactive details.
Wow, that is really interesting. Congratulations
Thank you.
on that success and the fact that you still have them as an account. There's been other things that you've done for them is pretty interesting, and that's a nice compliment, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we've beaten the agency relationship standard excessively, where it's usually a 3-year churn rate. And we have some clients that are 10, 15 years.
So I just want to kind of recap for myself. So basically, what they did was they created a sales tool that was creative. It
Mhm.
was definitely engaging. All of the salespeople, now the salespeople, were they employees? You said because they were required to log in.
Right. They're
So they're
employees.
employees. So it can be a little bit more challenging when the salespeople are independent contractors. But all right, let's go with this. They had a vested interest in it because they were going to have a personal gain, the bonus that you mentioned, right? And it's fun because it's a healthy competitive environment with your peers. Yeah,
Right.
great. Very creative. Awesome. That's great. Okay, so now you're sitting where you are
Mhm.
and you've got a nice amount of success. You've reinvented.
Right.
What's next for you now with this company? What's your next goal?
Next is to roll out this revised service line. And with the revised service line, it's really focused around the concept of we're here to get customers for our clients, or we're here to get clients for our clients. And the core of our product is a CRM, uh, and everything derives from there.
Okay, let's just for some people, CRM is the customer relation management tool. So it's very similar to Salesforce. There's a whole bunch of them out there, but you're going to create this is a custom one for the client.
No,
Oh,
we've
okay.
chosen not to do that because there's so many good tools out there. We're looking at speed to delivery all the time.
Awesome.
So we can assemble what we feel are the best tools. In this case, I use Go High Level. And we want to get to market as fast as possible, collecting customers. Once we have customers, we can now interact with the customers and collect data. We can collect feedback. And that way the client has an idea of what to test, what works best. Um, and with those solutions, it can be anything from the email marketing, how we message with automations, funnels, scope of website. We're going to do paid ads, and a variety of strategies there. And the whole goal is, well, what are we trying to accomplish? How do we interact with the customer? How do we get them to provide the feedback? How do we then deliver whatever the transaction might be? Um, and it goes in stages. So the first one is how fast can we get to market? I have a set goal of being set up and putting an offer out there and an automation to interact within 48 hours of signing. Followed by what do we do with the data acquired? Now we know how to expand and test. And then the third part of this, which can work concurrently, is if the business is scaling, how do we balance between workforce and automations? And automations are going to be a force, if not already, with how sales, customer service, and a variety of administrative tasks are going to play out in the future.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm just curious. So two things. First, you said you made a phrase, speed to, what was the phrase you used?
I'm calling speed to market.
Speed to market was the one. And then before that, when I had asked you about if you're going to customize the CRM and you said, no, you're going to use go high level. So what was that phrase that you used? Because you don't want to spend time doing things that you don't have to if there's already a platform and a tool available.
Right. So we don't want to write new software when there's already software out there that works.
Yeah, I'm going to find that phrase. You said something and I can't, it's, I'm having a senior moment. This is so embarrassing.
That's okay. I mean, I'm having one too.
All right, so we're going to just stick with speed to market for now. All right, so speed to market because is important. It's really interesting. So most companies and most business professionals on the smaller side, not the big organizations,
Mhm.
they think they have to add all these steps and layers in. And what ends up happening is the sales cycle is really long and inefficient.
Right.
And so what you're and it ends up being expensive. And then for employees, it's much more time consuming. And
Right.
the tasks that they have to do is much more time consuming, the admin. And you're talking about salespeople specifically. And I can tell you, I know salespeople are the worst at crossing the T's, dotting the I's. Don't make them do admin work. Allow them to just go out and be the hunters that they want to be and let somebody else come in and do the admin. So if the workflow is set up for these professionals, you're actually allowing your salespeople to do the job to the best of their ability so they become more revenue generating, productive individuals, right?
Absolutely. Right.
Okay.
And whether that's supporting the sales team directly or just putting out a system to the market that's doing something. From a development standpoint, there's always this problem of making the brand perfect, making the website perfect. Do we have the right content? Is the messaging right? And those are all very important things. But sometimes you just need to do something to start and then refine. And we're seeing this a lot out on the West Coast, especially where the entrepreneurs start and then figure it out as they go along. And we're seeing the success in the sales process with just doing something. And I've had times where projects the overschedule to a point where it's not even worth doing the project anymore because we just someone's responsible for something that's not happening. But now we can just get right to market and say, let's promote something. Let's gather data something. Let's offer a product or a service for sale and make sure that transaction's available. And now we're testing and now we're active and we're getting the feedback necessary to make further investments.
That's fantastic. I love that. So I'm going to repeat again what you said. So good. It's my processing how I do this, right? The the interesting piece that you just said is how you had to used to wait for somebody or
Mhm.
something else to happen to you for you to be able to move the project forward.
Right.
And I would say that's probably happening in a lot of offices and a lot of businesses in a lot of industries across our globe.
Right.
And when you can remove that piece and make it automated,
Hmm.
so some people will say, well, you're taking away jobs, Well, AI is here, and I think AI is going to really put a shift. And I don't know if the impact is necessarily going to be negative if it's embraced and if it's utilized to the best of the organization's ability.
Correct. And that's any technological shift. Maybe this has been the same argument all the way back to the printing press. This one's scary because it's so fast and it's so big. But it's just going to shift. And regarding blocks, here's a perfect case in point. We had a site and the client wanted a particular video, which required getting a production team, getting permits in the city, shutting down a particular resource in order to stage, then going through getting models, putting together the actual production day, and then going through all the editing, right? And expensive, time consuming, resource consuming. And then we were talking, he goes, just use AI. And it's like, I don't know AI. And this is something about AI too. So I spent the day just figuring out how to make stills, animations, stitching it all together. And we found that once we got those skills down, we filled that requirement in less than 4 hours. And it wasn't perfect, but for the purpose of getting this site to the market to start making sales, it sufficed rather than wait three months.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take away. It's just we have these tools now that can help us get to market quicker, learn, and then figure out what we want on the back end. And I think it is a healthy combination of tools and talent, and it's going to be competitive out there, especially with the AI, with how fast things move. So we have to help the clients with this model to make sure that, again, they get to market, they have systems, they're making investments that make sense.
It almost sounds like your job, your business is going to become even more valuable and more sought after, especially as this is growing and especially as businesses start to feel like they need to keep in touch with and grow their AI. And maybe there's nobody in the organization right now who's the expert in it. They don't understand it. So I think we're in that, like you mentioned, we're in that shift. I remember you mentioned the printing press. I remember the fax. Do you remember the fax machines where you had to like crank the thing and that you had to pour ink in there and put the paper in and roll it, and I
Absolutely.
had to put the phone because there used to be a landline. We actually had to hold the phone records. Yeah, so things have changed very quickly in our lifetime. It's
Right.
amazing.
And it takes a lot of self-assurance to just absorb all of that. It's very threatening, and and that's another podcast. There's a whole self-management aspect about this to keep yourself and keep what you're doing and keep the community or your response to the community in check.
All right, well, we'll have to schedule that one. That'll be a follow-up. So
Yes.
I am so grateful for your time and for sharing so much of your experience and your wisdom with us. And just if there's one thing that you really want everybody to walk away with, the new entrepreneurs, business owners, team leaders, what's the one thing that you'd really like them to know about you, your messaging, your philosophy?
Yeah, and it's a recent one that I'm embracing, and it goes along with everything we discussed in the business model, which is you have to be confident enough to act and believe that you're smart enough, flexible enough, anything enough to deal with whatever comes at you in response, both positive and negative. And if we wait until we're 100% sure of everything, the world's just going to pass us by. So be confident enough, trust your idea, and believe that you can adapt as you learn from the experience.
Yeah. Great words of wisdom. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For our listeners and viewers, for anyone who would like to reach out and have a conversation with you or hire you, which I hope happens, what's the best
Yeah.
way for them to find you?
Um, just contact me directly. This is a wonderful podcast because we've been, as I said in the beginning, in the shadows for 17 years. So this is one of our first steps with becoming visible and public for real. So email me at info@imagitive.com, which is IMAGATIV.com. And call me directly, 914-519-7044.
Okay, wait a second. I do this with every guest. You have
Yeah.
to repeat the phone number and you have to say it slow enough as if I was writing it down.
Okay.
So say it again.
914
Very funny.
519-7044.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you. And I am so honored and blessed that you're taking your first branding, marketing, and promotion step right here with us on Entrepreneurial Oomph. I really, that's an honor. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. I
Very
couldn't
much
think of
appreciate
anyone better to start this journey
it.
with.
You're so sweet. So sweet. It's been really great having you and talking to you and learning more about what you do and the offerings that your company does. And Imaginative, I know it did great things for me, and that was 20 years ago. So I can imagine what's going on now behind the scenes. So, Mark, thank you again. I so appreciate your
Thank
being
you
here.
as well.
All
Thank
right,
you for
bye,
having me.
guys.
Okay.
Gotta love,